Welcome back, guys. Jed Scott here, as always, at Scott's Speed Shop. And today, man, I don't know, is it you guys? It just seemed like that's getting repetitive or stale. Anyways, today we're going to dig deep into the bowels of one of Mopar's most powerful weapons in their arsenal, and that is the mighty 8 3/4 rear end. This one not so mighty because it's, well, an open diff with a 294 ratio, which is perfect if you're going NASCAR racing or something, but not great if you're going into the little yard dart street machine. So we got to remedy that is a 391 ring and pinion setup that's used, but bought it cheap. And it's for this also is 741 case, which is kind of the quote-unquote weakest version of them, of the three cases, but it's behind a 273 with a 4-speed. 4-speed eventually. The 4-speed's still right there. But we're gonna upgrade it again further with this Sure Grip unit that my buddy Billy hooked me up with about a year ago. We got a really good deal on this. Normally I would pull this apart and do clutches, but after the Dana 60 debacle, that can stay the way it is. We're just gonna clean that thing very, very heavily. Of course, everything needs to be cleaned. If we need it, we got a kit here which has all of our bearings and stuff, seals. We know we're definitely going to use that seal for sure. But as far as changing bearings and stuff, I'm probably not going to worry about it unless I find something drastically wrong with the bearings. And that's because, one, aftermarket bearings are so-so in quality. Original Chrysler stuff, this stuff's good. So as long as I don't find anything drastically wrong with the stuff inside of this case and the bearing that's on that pinion gear, we're going to keep what's in here. So I picked this case up for $100. I think I paid like $225 or something for that. I got a really screaming deal. Billy hooked me up with that. He bought one, I bought the other. And this I think I gave $100 for. I don't remember what I paid for that ring and pinion. It's been a long time. It's been sitting underneath the bench for a while. So I mean, I gave less for that, actually. I don't know. Regardless, it's going to be pretty damn cheap. In fact, you can buy this here kit right here from Jags for, I think, like, this was on sale for like 90 or 80 bucks. So, I mean, I can't complain with that. So, I got something flying around me. I don't know what that was. So, yeah, we're going to be tearing into this bad boy. And our neat little... hang on. For some reason, this is not moving as easy as it normally does. Our neat little fixture. I know we're not the first guys to innovate something like that, but works out very easily and very well when you're going to rebuild a third member. So we're going to dig deep into this bad boy, get this thing all set up the way we want it, and show you how to check wear pattern, how to set up a rear end by feel. I know there's a lot of guys out there, you can't set a backlash by feel, but let me tell you, built a lot of rear ends, and this is the only tool I use for setting backlash. You just got to know what kind of feeling to watch out for, and this is the factory feel right here. You can watch it. I mean, it's just a little bit of play. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you can hear it. So that's... it's very little backlash. It's just something you got to develop with feel. And yes, you can set up a rear end through feel if your hands are right. So yeah, we're going to get digging this thing, and we'll keep you guys up to date, and we'll show you how it goes. All right, while we're going to be tearing that apart and cleaning it, we're going to be soaking parts in gasoline because, well, we don't have parts worth for nothing. So I'm shoving that Sure Grip in there to let it soak. I got to run to the store, get some supplies, and get groceries and whatnot. We're going to let that soak, get all that dirt and grease and crap off there. We'll clean that really good, and then we'll soak that back in fresh oil so that way all the dirt and nasty's out of it. But we'll do the same thing with the ring and pinion gear down here. Make sure they're extra clean, and then we'll re-grease the bearings and everything. So, all right, on to the store. Alrighty, well, got the ring and pinion gear soaking now. I just pulled out the third member and it's drying. I got to get all the gas evaporated out of here and get this baby oiled up. Get oil soaking back into everything, but she's like brand new. Your hands don't get dirty when you touch it no more. So we're gonna get ready to pull this here pinion nut off, get the yoke off, and all that other fun stuff. Start tearing this thing down so we can get it rebuilt and get that old peg legger out. Oh, the dart's not there anymore. Whoops, forgot I moved it. Get the old peg legger out of the dart. Get a 391 sure grip in there. That will be 2 wheel peels, except for, well, hopefully the 391 might remedy the fact the dart don't really want to do a burnout. But it's only a 273 going through, again, a 727 automatic and then through an 8 3/4. So it's parasitic loss city in that car. But you know what? We're going to fix that with gear ratios. So let's get to work. You want to play this kind of game? I'll solve you. If at first a craftsman won't succeed and an Ingersoll Rand fails to do the job better, you got to stop playing around. And you just got to ask yourself, how stuck does this nut really want to be? Because whether or not we snap this pinion shaft or not, off is off. All right. Off is off, baby. Nothing Bertha can't fix. Thank you, Bertha. Okay, now we can continue. So before you get too far ahead of yourself, like I was doing, because I forgot this is supposed to be kind of more instructional, you need to, before you go tearing everything apart, which I already got the yoke off, just because I need to make sure it was coarse spline or fine spline. They interchange sometimes. Sometimes these cases got weird stuff going on. So you don't want to get these caps mixed up. Just like main caps on an engine block, these, you can swap them, but you really shouldn't. They need to be where they came off of, because they're machined and cut off after they've been cast. So if you were smart and you had a brain and you weren't me, you'd be able to keep track of which caps went where. But I'm going to take a chisel and I'm going to mark one side with a couple hashes. That way I know this cap goes on this side in this orientation, and this cap over here will go on this side in this orientation. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to rip everything off, get this crap out, and put all the new stuff in there, make it nice and pretty. Woohoo! So just to show you, there's damn that glare. There's 2 marks there, and then 1 set of marks on this side. See, there's dot, 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 dot. That damn glare, I'm sorry about that, but you get the point. So now we can take everything apart. We know which cap goes where. The dots will face this way forward, which is opposite of the pinion snubber. It's technically the bottom of the case. So all that's figured out. Okay, so we got a case. It's empty. Not quite sure what that big steel sleeve is. Like I said, I mostly work on these Dana 60s now. Let's see, this came with the kit. Must just be a big collar, and there's our shim stack down there, which we don't want to disturb too much. We're going to use that to help set up the new stuff. And we'll probably need to add some shims, because of course we're going from this monster pinion. Oh my god, look at this thing. This thing is huge. Now we're going down to this little feller, which is what I'm much more used to using. So, oh man, I lost my gasoline stack in here. Of course, it's time to pull this out, get this all cleaned up, ready for installation. So, there's the old stuff. We'll keep that together because there's nothing wrong with any of that. So, I'm going to get to work cleaning everything. No sense of showing you that. Obviously, you want this stuff as clean as possible, and you want it oiled as well. You don't want to put it together dry. So I'm gonna get everything cleaned as nicely as I can, and I'll check in with you then. All right, guys, we're back. It's another day, and I let the Sure Grip centerpiece soak in. It's just motor oil all night, just to hopefully get a little bit of a life put back in them clutches after being dry from that gasoline. Got the pinion, all the bearings and stuff soaking there, so that way there got some oil on them. And let me go ahead and tell you, whatever kind of gasoline Dad bought for the lawnmower jug is some strong stuff, because I've probably gone through several sets of these gloves here. I mean, it just melts them instantly. And I dropped, when I was cleaning the center chunk, by the way, it's pretty now, I accidentally dropped it inside the jug and coated myself in gasoline and ate my shoes. Like, legitimately ate my freaking shoes. So, had to dig out an old pair of work shoes. Luckily, this pair ain't so bad, so maybe I ain't gotta go buy new shoes. But, yeah, this is all cleaned up. I was trying to find paint that wasn't awful. And I was talking to my buddy Ed on the phone, and he had this thing all primed and beautiful, all cleaned up, no more grease or crap on it, rust. And I grabbed a can of what I thought was rust oxide primer, and it ended up being poo brown. And I was like, oh, I can't have poo brown. So I went and found a little more red color, and it came out pink. Luckily, it's dried to whatever this looks like on camera, but this looks pretty damn nice. Pretty happy with how that turned out. So all of our races are in good shape. All of our bearings are in good shape. We'll flip this over. Woo! Got everything just kind of set in here, oiled up so we don't rust. The adjusters are back the way they were. The caps are just sitting on there, a little bit tight. But that's ready to go. So now we're going to get the pinion assembled, get it shoved in here, and get our depth set. So that way we can keep rolling along, and then we can check our wear pattern. Hopefully our wear pattern's good. This thing can be done and ready to go in the old dart. So wish me luck. Oh, and before I get to work, here's a bit of tech for you. So this is the yoke for that rear end, and this is a 7260 Mopar yoke. And 7260 refers to the series of U-joint. It's the small Mopar. And I was digging around, looking around at my other yokes, and found this guy. And if you've ever been curious what the difference between a 7260 and a 7290, the 90 being the one for the big boys, you know, Hemi, 446 pack, stuff like that, it is this. That is how much bigger a 7260 is than a 7290. Oh yeah, that's a massive difference. And at first I thought maybe this was one of the mythical unicorn yokes for 1350 GMU joint. So I dug out, I got this conversion joint that is 1350 to 7290. And as it turns out, the 1350 is about this length, but it's a bigger cap. So this is indeed a 7290. So a little tech tip for you. Now on to work. All right, if you don't have a bearing or a seal driving tool, a big old socket always works pretty good. So we put a little bit of sealer on this just in case. Make sure it's going in straight. And then we're going to take a little bit of oil, get it on that seal. Just take your finger. Seals should never be put in dry. It's a good way to tear them. You know, just like they say on your first prom date, lubricant is your friend. They're not lying. Now this is how Dad and I always set up our rear ends. We always take all the stock stuff we took out and we always put it back in, and then we'll do a test fit and test wear on it to see if it'll work. So these are the two shims that sit on that sleeve, and they sit right on top of that bearing. And we always test, see if the factory setting will work, because that's the best setting. And if it works, sweet. If not, we'll pull everything apart and reshim it until we get what we want. I figure I'm gonna drop them down in there now. So Pinion's sitting in there. We're gonna now we're gonna get back to work on setting up our preload on our Pinion. Then we'll get that kind of torqued down. Then we'll shove our third member in here. Check our wear pattern. If it's good, sweet. If it needs to move fore or aft, we will adjust it with these adjusters for preload on the side bearings. But if the wear pattern needs to be moved up into the ring gear or down into the ring gear to get it directly center where it should be, that's all adjusted with the Pinion shim. So get to work, set all that up, and I'll show you more. Another little tech tip for when installing your ring gear. I actually forgot to do this. I don't know what happened there. I forgot to go ahead and install the ring gear. I was getting ready to sit this on, and I'm like, wait, something ain't right. Where's the ring gear? Oh, it's still in the box. So one thing I always do is, I've seen a lot of guys mess up here, is this is actually kind of a press fit. You know, this ring gear just don't fall on and fall off. It's kind of a tight fit. You got to kind of beat it on. The problem is that some guys will just immediately take the ring gear, and I know I'm guilty of it, and then they'll smack it on there, and then their holes don't line up and they screw up. But as you can see, I started doing this where I'll just get it on there loosely, just enough where I can get thread engagement, and I'll sit it on there, get 2 bolts started, then run them all down. You know, and you can either suck it on with the bolts, but I like to get all these finger tight, you know, get a couple threads in them. Then I'll flip it back over, take a non-marring hammer, non-marring hammer. Fuck! Then I'll take a non-marring mallet and I'll beat it on, boom, 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 until it's seated. And then I'll take these out 2 at a time, Loctite them, torque them, boom, done. And also, these are left-handed thread, believe it or not. They turn this way. So Dana 60 is normal right-handed, but 8 3/4, at least on this ring gear, perhaps are left-handed thread. So we're gonna get this ring gear installed, get those Loctited, torqued, and then we'll get it set in there, check our bearing, our wear pattern, and everything else, and should be good to go. Well, this looks kind of familiar. I think the last time we were here, we were doing a Dana 60 and it wasn't good. We had a lot of bad happen. So I got the ring gear pulled up tight. All those bolts are tight with a 3/8 ratchet. Now, like I said earlier, we're gonna pull them out 2 at a time, put a Loctite on them, torque them down to 55 foot-pounds, which is the factory spec. And then once we're done, we'll come around, double check all the torques, and we'll take a paint pen, mark them, so we know they're not backing out if we ever need to pull this back out and check it. And we'll keep rocking and rolling. So, no speed footage this one. Okay, so we had a small problem. My torque wrench doesn't like to torque backwards since these are left-handed. So head pressure go around them, and I know it doesn't like I have a perfect start pass because I kept getting frustrated. But nevertheless, had to over tighten them a little bit, then switched over to right hand and check it. And yeah, we got them all torqued. I probably won't throw in that speed footage, sorry. It's a little bit aggravating, but those are all torqued. I'm gonna let that paint on those marks dry. And again, all those paint marks are doing is if we ever take this out to inspect it, we'll know if these bolts are moving or not. Those lines will no longer line up. But they're so tight right now, I don't think we're gonna have a problem. And they got Loctite on them, so they ain't going nowhere. So let that paint dry up, and then we'll take it and start assembling inside of there. All right, I went ahead and set that in there because it was gonna become a pain in the butt. Clean up all this excess oil. Words of wisdom, be careful. There's a lot of sharp edges inside that rear end, especially these. Probably leaving everything soaking in oil, not a great idea, only because you're going to get it everywhere and it's slippery and it gets everywhere. And yeah, it's a nice little cut on the knuckle. But a little cut never hurt anybody. So we're going to get our bearing caps on here. We're going to check our wear pattern. Hopefully it's good. If it's good, we're done. If not, we need to pull everything back apart and shim up the Pinion until we get it where we want it, or we can set our side loads. So let's get at it. A lot of speed footage. I'll walk you through at the end. All right, this is kind of difficult holding a flashlight and the camera in one hand. I gotta have a free hand here. So if anybody's curious what backlash is, it is the space between the pinion and the ring gear. So let me show you. You can visually hear and see it. You see that? That is how much space there is between the ring and pinion gear before they make contact. So, and the proper way of setting this up is with a micrometer, or not with a micrometer, but with a dial gauge, and setting there's like 10 thousandths or whatever the actual measurement is, how much pinion movement you want. If you know what you're looking at, you can tell if it's right or wrong, and any moron with a brain can be like, that's way too much. That is way too much. So we got some more playing to do there, and I had to make me a tool. And I had this feeling I was gonna have to make a tool to do these side load adjusters. So see that? TIG welded a couple little bolts on there, little 1/4 inch bolts, and boom, that guy works. Well, it would work if I didn't have those tight. So I'm gonna keep going at this. This is like the worst part of setting this stuff up, but all my grease is kind of worn off. This is not my proper wear pattern. I gotta re-grease everything and check them. I just tightened the pinion some more because I thought it was tight, but it was moving up and down, so it wasn't tight enough. So I'm gonna get back at it. I'm not gonna bore you too much. I'm gonna get this thing set up and I'll show you everything when I'm done. Alrighty guys, so I'm back. Had to take a minute because I was getting very, very, very frustrated. I couldn't get everything set right, and it just, you know, one of those things where you just gotta walk away for a minute. And Dad didn't want me to say it, but he came home and he actually, his extra pair of eyes, we figured out the problem. We took everything back off here. We left the center chunk in here, and we just reset the adjusters. And we finally got our preload, or our backlash where we wanted it, which is in the 10 to 16 thousandths range. And let me just flip this over so you can see how much play this really is. It's not very much, and this is one of those things, you do this enough, you can do it by feel. So watch very closely. That is how much it moves. I mean, it is a tiny amount. That's exactly how much was in the old setup. Let's see if we can get you closer. I mean, it's a tiny, tiny amount. And yeah, a guy could set up a dial indicator and everything else and blah, 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 science and correct and yada, yada, fancy shop stuff, but it's good enough. So thank you, Dad, even though you did not want me to mention that you were the solving factor of this, but we got it. And in fact, yeah, our threads are about the same. There was 2 on one and 1 on the other. I think they're swapped now because the extra big ring gear and the smaller pinion, so we're good. So now it's we got to put our locks on here that hold everything steady so that way nothing moves. We're gonna have to move that one a little bit, and then we'll torque these down to 90 foot-pounds like they're supposed to be. We'll mark those as well. This thing's ready to go in El Dardarino. Alrighty, so for any machinists out there who think we're hacks, I set up a dial indicator. We're gonna check the backlash in thousandths of an inch. Brian, thank you. I'm using this little gauge now. I'm just gonna hold this steady. There we go. We are 12 thousandths or 11 thousandths of an inch. Whoop, too far. So 11 thousandths of an inch. Perfect. All right. Let's finish her out. Alrighty, so everything's finished up. Hi, Dad. Hey. He wants to stay out of the camera. But wear pattern is not like super duper perfect in comparison to everything we've done in the past, but it's actually pretty dang good regardless. I wonder if I could find where the teeth are. There they are. It's a little bit low on the gear, but it's still, the majority of it's on there. It's perfect as far as depth goes. So yeah, it's golden. Like I told you, Dad, and I told everybody on camera, it's right around 11 to 12 thousandths backlash, just to show everybody that with the right kind of hands and enough experience, you can set this bad boy by feel. So, yep, these are torqued down to 90. These are just snug. These are blue Loctite in, these adjuster holders. I actually had to move the adjusters a little bit.
Did you Loctite them big bolts?
No, they're just torqued. But all of the ring gear bolts are Loctited. I mean, I could Loctite those, but I don't think it's necessary. They're torqued down to 90 foot-pounds. Let me tell you, 90 foot-pounds, move the whole fucking stand. But there it is. Hopefully someone out there gets a little bit of information out of this. It may not be the best instructional video, but I never claimed to be a great teacher, so. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I look forward to seeing you when we're putting this bad girl in the darts. So as always, take care, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ah.